Everyone. Thanks for joining me again for another Maker Mania. Sorry, I'm working on two screens here. I didn't want you to have a echo from my big computer making sound on my phone. All right, here we go. Thanks for joining me for Maker Mania today. Thanks for always tuning in like you guys always do. Today's going to be a little bit different. We don't have one of our videos from Jeremy today, but I thought we'd do something a little bit fun, a little bit different from what I normally do. Normally, I show you a lower tech science project, but today I think that we will try doing a little tour of some of the equipment that we have here in the makerspace. So today we'll go with my most popular piece of equipment that I have, which would be my 3D printer. So I'm going to run you through just kind of the steps that it takes for me to begin a 3D print process, and then we'll go ahead and see the printer in real time. So I'm going to move my phone over there, and hopefully we aren't going to have any technical difficulties, because the piece that I set up this morning is still printing, and so we should be able to see it in action. All right, I'm going to start the YouTube video portion of the program now. So hold your horses and we'll get that going. I thought we would do something a little bit different than what I normally do. I normally do some low tech making. But today I thought I'd run you through how I do a 3D print job. So we're going to go ahead and get started. That sound you just heard was my 3D printer on the corner turning on. And I'm going to show you just kind of quickly, start to finish, how we run a 3D print here in the Idea Factory. So first, I'm going to go to Thingiverse, which is THINGIVERSE.com. And this is where I can search for just about anything I'd like to print. I think today we're just going to go for something fun and simple and easy. So all of the files here on Thingiverse are free. Well, most of them anyway, anything I'm interested in, which is really helpful. They have basically made a file for anything that you can think of. I think this chameleon pen holder is kind of cool, so I'm going to go ahead and look at this guy. I like him. He's neat. So I'm going to go ahead and say download all files. And in a second there, it's going to show up down here at the bottom. Okay, there it is. So there it is. I want to double click it to open it. It's going to take a second to open. Hopefully. Maybe. There it goes. So I'm going to open up the files and grab my chameleon pen holder, and I'm going to go ahead and just drop it into my USB disk there. And then I'm going to go into the software that I use to make the file once this is done transferring over. So as that's going, I'm going to go into my 3D printer iOS. It's going to pop up right there. Click that and get into that particular bit of software. Sign in. And I'm going to go to upload. Let's make sure it's gone over. It has. So I'm going to choose a file from my USB disk here. And there it goes. This is all stuff that I do. You can use all sorts of different iOSs for your 3D printer. This one just came with mine, which I really like having. So what I'm also going to do here is go to layout and double check to see where this guy is going to land in space on my print bed here. It is not wanting to come up. It's still waiting. Oops. Went too far. Alrighty. So I have my chameleon. I'm going to hit layout. Load anyway. There he is. So he's pretty cool. I have him on the bed. What I'm going to do here is go to save and slice. So the reason I'm slicing is that every 3D file has to be sliced, which means that the 3D printer lays down a thin layer of plastic in slices across the print bed, and so I have to slice the file so the 3D printer knows what it's up to. I think I'm probably going to keep everything about the same here. We're going to print in standard PETG, which is good to do. And so that all looks all right. I'm not going to fiddle with any of these settings. Those are settings that are that we can talk about at different times. I'm going to go ahead and slice it. I'm going to watch it as it loads. It's going to take a minute because it's a big file. The more high resolution your file is, the longer it takes for it to go through. So we're just going to wait for that to pop in. But while we're doing that, I can wander over to the 3D printer and get it set up for us to get started. So my 3D printer hangs out over here right now. I run a Dremel Digilab 3D 45. It's a really nice 3D printer. You can buy it on the market. It's one of the more pricey ones. I really like it because it's enclosed and we can do all kinds of different things with it. So I've already cleaned it up for us to start the print job. This bed is the print bed. It's glass, and it does come out for me to wash it. I just can click it out with these clips right here. But before we get started with anything, we want to make sure that our bed is level. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the leveling button there on the front of my machine, and everything's nice and clean. I already cleaned it, so we're going to go ahead and make sure that the bed is level. So how it does that is there's a sensor up here in the top part of the machine. That is the extruder, but it has a sensor in it that's going to tell me whether or not the bed is level. I've got to have a level bed to print because if I don't, the print is going to come out all wonky or it might fail, and we don't want that to happen. We want to have a successful print job. So this guy is going to test to see if the bed is level. It's going to test in 12 different places on the bed. It's going to take a minute to do that. So while we're doing that, we're going to come back over to the computer. And I'm going to go ahead and pull my file and stick it in my thumb drive. This one is the one that we have to use. Let's see if we can zoom in. See how it says this right here, G3D REM? That's our G code. That is the code that the printer uses to decide and download and print the file. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that to download it. It's right here. And that guy can go away. I'm going to open up my File Explorer and go to Downloads because I just grabbed it. There it is. I need this file right here. It says GDREM. Yep, that's the right one. I'm just going to drag and drop it into my USB. And then once it's done with that, we'll be able to pull out the USB and get started. So the sensor over here has told me that the build platform is too low. So this is called a guided leveler. It's telling me what I need to do. I need to turn this wheel counterclockwise or clockwise. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. We're going to listen for it to beep. There it goes. Verify. We're going to say yep. It's going to check it one more time. And we're going to see whether it is still level. It's going to check all those spots again. It's still thinking about it. All right, so it says that that's too low too. So we're going to go ahead and turn this guy clockwise as well. All right. Still saying too low. Okay. And this is something that you want to do pretty much every time you print if you're using a 3D printer. All right, so that's done. So I am going to run PETG filament that comes out of this reel here. It's going to go down the machine and into a white tube that's right here. It's going to come up the machine. I'll open it here. So that's the white tube. It's going to come right here and come out of the, sadly, slightly messy stepper motor here. It's going to come out of that motor where there's a bunch of gears that push it through, and it's going to come out of that nozzle that's black-ish right there. It's going to come out of that nozzle at about 235 degrees Celsius, which is pretty darn hot in Fahrenheit. It's about the same temperature that you cook a pizza at, so like 425, 430. Don't touch it. I've touched it before and it burned me real good. So it's going to come out of there in a really thin line. So if you look at my finger there, that's how thick the filament comes out. Sorry, my focusing is a little funky. That's how thick the filament comes out of the 3D printer. Not very thick. All right, our file is done loading. So I'm going to go grab that USB. And I'm going to stick it into the front of the 3D printer. There it is. And then I'm going to say build. I'm going to pick from the USB drive. There it is. I want this guy. It says it's going to take 6 hours, but that's okay. We'll be able to see it in progress when I air this. So I'm going to go ahead and shut my top lid and get the print ready for building. So to get it ready for building, to adhere the job, I'm going to put, this is going to be funny because this is all it takes, just some regular old white school glue and put it here in the middle of the bed. And this is what's going to stick the print job to the bed so that it doesn't fall off and go wandering around through space, which will happen. Sometimes that happens, and then it looks like I have a big set of ramen noodles happening inside of my 3D printer. All right, that's on. So I'm going to hit build. So it's going to take the file from the USB drive there and copy it. And once it's done with that, it's going to get started. So it's going to check to see if everything's level again. So we're going to wait it and watch it go through that. This moves really slowly. If you're wondering what the white stuff is inside of the printer, that's actually glue. I try to get it out as much as possible, but I ran out of canned air, so I had to use a paper towel, and it didn't work as good as I had hoped. Just want to open the door so you guys can see a little better. So it's going to go through the process again of figuring out where the print bed is in space. So that's what it's doing right now. And it's testing all those various different things. And it's also preheating the heating element that's in the extruder, which is the thing that's testing, and also in the bed. The bed's going to get to be about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 90 degrees. I'm sorry, 4 degrees Celsius, about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's to allow the plastic to stick to it better. The only thing that we can print in this machine is plastic. There are other 3D printers out there that can print clay or metal or even bio stuff, but this one only prints plastic. Any of the ones that you can buy for your house mostly just print plastic. This one's kind of fancy because I can print different kinds of plastic. I can print PETG, which is what we're printing today, or nylon. Those are having like slightly higher printing temperatures, but PETG is really nice for printing because it doesn't make any yucky fumes that are bad for us to breathe in. The other plastics that we usually use, which are ABS or PLA plastics, don't ask me what they stand for. It's a long, crazy name of a bunch of different things. They can produce fumes that are really bad for you to breathe and give you a headache and make you not feel good. So we don't want that to happen. So now it's going to preheat. Remember how I told you it's going to get up to those really high temperatures? You can see what temperatures they're going to be at there. So we're going to get the bed hot, the platform hot first. That's this button here. And then this one is going to go all the way up to 240 degrees Celsius. And then once that's done, it'll start the printing process, which is pretty cool. It just takes a minute. You'll see that now the numbers here are starting to step up really fast to get hot. And the bed is as hot as it's going to get. It sometimes has a hard time getting to that last little degree on the bed. But we're trucking right along on the heat for the extruder. And once it gets to temperature, it's going to start laying down those layers of plastic. So while we're waiting for that, I'll show you a finished product that I have here. This is a frog. We're going to that we printed. And if you look at it really carefully, you can see that there's all these little layers, and that's one singular pass of the extruder going over that. So think about how many times that extruder has to go over and over and over a piece of plastic to make it into the shape of this frog. And you'll see why it takes so long for 3D printers to work. The other fun thing to know is that this frog is actually mostly hollow. The inside of it is mostly hollow. So we're going to print a hard plastic shell with a little bit of material inside to support the shell, and otherwise this guy is mostly just full of air. So he's really light. He's not heavy at all. Most of the 3D prints that you see are only about 10% filled inside, and that's to save on plastic and to save on weight. So if we look here, it's almost done. We're at 207, 209, 211. And once it's done heating up, we'll go ahead and get the process started. After the process gets started and you can see it start to lay those first few lines of plastic, we will stop the video, and then when I air this afternoon, hopefully we'll be pretty close to done and you can see the finished product as it's being printed. So we're at 233, 234, 236, 7, almost there, 8, 9, waiting on 9, waiting on 9. All right, it's going to get started. So you'll see that in this particular model of printer, the bed goes up to the extruder, not the other way around. In other models, the extruder comes down to the bed. This one, the bed moves up to the extruder. I think it works better that way because there's not nearly as much space in between. So if you watch carefully, I'm going to hold this here. It's going to start going in a circle, and we'll be able to see the plastic that it's laying down. Can you see that black plastic? I'll lift the lid here so you can see it a little bit better. There it is, going around in a circle, putting the plastic out for us to get started. There it goes. All right, see how thin that is that they're laying down? It's not going to be a lot of plastic to start with. The bed is touching the extruder almost. There's only a very, very little space, about the width of a piece of paper in between the bed and the extruder, and that's where they're putting the plastic down. So there it goes, around in a circle, laying out the very beginnings of our chameleon pen holder that we found online. Okay, I'm going to let it do its work now. We'll shut the door. The door helps the print not get warped by air from outside as it goes and goes. And then at 4 o'clock this afternoon, when I air this video, hopefully we will have a mostly finished product to watch print. All right, guys, I'll see you then.
What's better than sweating it out with friends in the gym?
It's time to grind, Peloton. Come on.
Working out
at... Oh, I see. Aha, fixed it. All right, so I took you through how we got that print job started, which is pretty fun. It is really an awful lot that's on a computer, though, which I don't know necessarily if people realize how much has to be done behind the scenes before we get started on a 3D print project. But I do happen to have it still going. That was a long print job, so it is still not done. But we can go over to the 3D printer and take a peek at it, see how it's doing. All right. I'm going to see if I can flip my camera here. Oh, maybe I can't. Okay, so I'm going to flip my hands. If you see here, it is still going, but it's nice and tall. I've got 1 hour and 7 minutes left on that build. This build is a very fine build, which means that the layer height that I have going on with it is only about 0.5 millimeter tall, which means that it's going to take a long time, but it's going to be really nice and smooth. Once it's done, hopefully next week I'll be able to show you guys the finished product. Thanks for joining me on this 3D printing adventure. If you have any questions about the type of machine that I run, if you want any suggestions about the type of machine maybe you'd like to buy, or if you'd like to come to the library and just try it out, please hit me up. And my email is my first dot my last name. It's down at the bottom of the screen, other side. The camera flipping thing weirds me out. And so it's sharon.rice@pueblolibrary.org. I'd be more than happy to answer any of the questions you guys might have about 3D printing. That's about all I've got for today. Thank you so much for joining me on this wonderful 3D printing adventure, and I will talk to you again soon. Have a great day. Bye.